Hi students, welcome to the platform of eGurukul and Dr. Bhatia Medical Coaching Institute. I am Dr. Ramya Sri. I teach obstetrics and gynecology. I've been getting a lot of requests for UPSC exam questions. So I thought I'll make some videos for you for the UPSC exams. So I am going to teach you the previous year questions of the UPSC in these videos. So I'm going to send 4 videos where I'll try to cover at least 2 years of question papers. So every video will be only 10 minutes, right? So in this video, I am covering UPSC 2021 question paper. So they are very simple, and whatever you read in the obstetrics and gynecology for the NEET preparation, that's more than enough for the UPSC also. So you don't require to worry anything about extra in the preparation of obstetrics and gynecology. So let's see the questions so that you'll understand what are the preferred questions which come, or what are the type of the questions which come, right? So this is the first question. So the first question: ideal weight gain during pregnancy for a woman with normal BMI should be. So they have mentioned here the BMI. So normal BMI should range between 11.5 to 13.5 kgs. So the most nearest answer what we have here is 11 to 16 kgs. So B will be the answer, right? So whenever you have underweight, so whenever the BMI is underweight, the ideal weight gain can go up to 18 to 20 kgs. Normal BMI, it's 11.5 to 13.5 kgs. Overweight, 7 to 11 kgs. And obesity, it should be less than or equal to 7 kgs. So underweight actually it is 14 to 20 kgs. So I wrote 18 to 20 kgs. Okay. 14.5 to 20 kgs they can gain. So that's about the first question. Let's go to the next question. Blood volume increases during pregnancy above non-pregnant level at 30 to 34 weeks by 10 to 20%, by 25 to 30%, by 40 to 50%, blood volume does not increase at all. So we all know that blood volume increases in pregnancy, and the blood volume increases by, so normally remember guys, blood volume increases by 50%, plasma volume increases by 60%, whereas RBCs increase by 20 to 30%. So blood volume increases by 40 to 50%. So the best answer what we have here is C, by 50%, right? Next question. Which of the following are contraindication to external cephalic version in antenatal management of breech presentation? Antepartum hemorrhage, multiple pregnancy, reactive non-stress test, severe oligohydramnios. So usually you get a combination questions like this. So here asking which of the following are the contraindications to ECV. So whenever there is antepartum hemorrhage, that can be due to abruption or placenta previa. Can we do ECV? Obviously no. So we can't do ECV when there is a antepartum hemorrhage, right? So 1 is a contraindication. One of the prerequisite for ECV is you should have a singleton pregnancy. So when the fetus inside the uterus should be 1. Right? So multiple pregnancy, when there are 2 babies, you cannot do ECV. There's no space. So this is also a contraindication. Reactive non-stressed. So reactive non-stressed is good. Then when the non-stress test is reactive, it is good. Why can't we do ECV? We can definitely do ECV. When we should not do ECV, when you have a non-reassuring or non-reactive NST, then you should not do ECV. So reactive non-stress test is not a contraindication. Next, coming to the severe oligohydramnios. Yes, severe oligohydramnios, when one of the prerequisite for doing ECV is adequate liquor should be there. So when there is severe oligohydramnios, can we rotate the baby? We can't rotate, right? So what is the answer here? 1, 2 and 4. All these are the contraindications. So do we have a combination? Yes. So ECV, you should be perfect guys. Have a look about ECV, okay? So ECV, the contraindications for ECV are rupture of membranes, known uterine malformations, multiple gestation, recent uterine bleeding, placenta previa, contracted pelvis, non-reassuring fetal heart status, and previous LSCS. So previous LSCS is a relative contraindication. Previous LSCS is a relative contraindication, right? So, and also the prerequisites you should remember. There should be adequate LICA, singleton fetus, adequate pelvis. So there should be adequate LICA, adequate it should be a single fetus. There should be adequate pelvis. There should be no contraindications for cesarean, no contraindications for vaginal delivery, like placenta previa, which are the contraindications for vaginal delivery, right? Okay, next question. Antepartum hemorrhage is defined as bleeding from the genital tract before 20 weeks of pregnancy, before 24 weeks of pregnancy, after 28 weeks, after 34 weeks. So, antepartum hemorrhage is a bleeding from or into the genital tract after the period of viability. So, after the period of viability, a period of viability is a contraindication. It is, in some books, it's given as 24, it's Indian Academy of Pediatrics, it takes 24 weeks. Whereas, clinically, we take 28 weeks. Now, it is not definitely before, so these two options are gone. Now, between after 28 weeks and after 34 weeks, I think it is pretty clear that we'll go for after 28 weeks. So, antepartum hemorrhage is bleeding from or the genital tract after the period of viability and before vaginal delivery. So, that's why we are going with after 28 weeks of pregnancy. Okay. Now, next question. Which one of the following is not a risk factor for preeclampsia? So, your understanding all are some questions which you definitely read in my notes. So, you just have to be perfect with the notes. Then you can, just slay the exam. So, wherever you have excess villus tissue or wherever there is a first exposure of villus tissue, there is high chance of improper trophoblastic invasion and preeclampsia. So, primea gravida is a risk factor for preeclampsia, right? So, primea gravida, obesity, pre-existing vascular disease. So, obviously, when there is already a vascular disease, there is high risk of again getting a preeclampsia, right? So, pre-existing vascular disease. So, I'll show you all the risk factors. So, the risk factors for preeclampsia are patient younger than 20 years or older than 35 years of age, young primea gravida. So, extremes of age is one risk factor. Next, coming to the young primea gravida, right? Next, coming to the vesicular mole or twins. Why? Because there is more exposure to the tissue. So, as there will be more exposure to the tissue, so vesicular mole. Maternal obesity. See, obesity is a risk factor. Pre-existing diabetes mellitus, pre-existing hypertension or renal disease. Past history or family history of preeclampsia. APLA syndrome and SLE, fetal height drops. Smoking is protective, guys. Yeah, pre-existing vascular disease is also a risk factor because then when there is a vascular disease, again there won't be proper trophoblastic invasion. So, obesity is also risk factor. Pre-existing vascular disease is also risk factor. What is not a risk factor is placenta previa here. What is not a risk factor is placenta previa, right?